going to catch you up very quickly. Joe Rogan has been having some controversial guests, and they've been labeled as misinformation podcasts. These episodes featuring Dr. Peter McCullough and what's his other name? Robert Malone. And both of these doctors are very well accredited doctors. One of them is like one of the most published cardiologists in history. So both of them, the other one, Malone, holds several patents in the mRNA vaccines. So it's not like they are just some quacks off the streets, but that's besides the point. The show has been labeled misinformation, and the mainstream media has taken that and ran with it. And so Neil Young has decided that he does not want to be a part of that platform, a platform that promotes misinformation. Now, whether or not you think Joe Rogan is spreading misinformation or not, that's your opinion, and that's fine. I totally respect Neil Young's decision to take his music off that platform if he is truly behind it. Now, last week we went over a little bit on how Neil Young recently sold his publishing rights to a company called Hypnosis, who is partnered with Blackstone, who has a senior advisor that is from Pfizer. So we did kind of make a connection there, but I'm not trying to go down the conspiracy theory thing. But that is kind of interesting that there's a senior advisor with a huge partner of the company that owns Neil Young's publishing is connected to Pfizer, and Joe Rogan is, downplaying, some would say downplaying the vaccine. So as the week goes on, Neil Young takes his music off of Spotify. Joni Mitchell decides to jump in the mix. Joni Mitchell has decided to join Neil Young along with Nils something, the guitarist of Bruce Springsteen, which who cares? Very sad to see these people go from that platform. I love both of those artists, Joni and Neil Young, and whoever Nils, whatever guy, the guy from Bruce Springsteen, whatever. But still, they're going to be missed. They're going to be missed. I know, no Pfizer. Anyways, apparently also pulling away their music from Spotify is Dave Grohl, Paul McCartney, Bruce Springsteen, Willie Nelson, and Barbra Streisand. So those are all rumors. I looked into those. Those are not confirmed yet. And also Chris Gaines has reported to take his music off of Spotify, which if anybody knows who Chris Gaines is, it's Garth Brooks' alter ego. Garth Brooks has not been on Spotify ever. So, yeah, I checked because so far their music is still on it. Yeah, and so is Joni Mitchell's. As of last night, late last night, Joni Mitchell's music was still on there. And even though that these people want to take their music off, they don't own their music. So there's been a whole chain of these older artists selling off their publishing rights. And it's become kind of profitable for these bigger investment firms like Blackstone, which coincidentally were involved with the 2008 housing crisis. They know, yeah, they were involved with that. So, companies like Blackstone has been finding it very profitable to invest in the publishing rights for these older artists. And as the streaming world explodes, it's more of a predictable a market. It's very predictable that Neil Young's music is going to live on in perpetuity because he is a legend and people love him, and he's going to have fans for generations to come. So they see it as an investment as the rising popularity of streaming services sort of take off. And so it's very interesting to see, it's very interesting to see the dynamic of corporate and an artist and podcaster. I'm loving the dynamic here. So Joni Mitchell joins the fun. So now here's the update. So Joe Rogan addressed Spotify, Neil Young, Joni Mitchell after criticism of COVID-19 misinformation. So Joe Rogan went on his Instagram and addressed the subject. And by the way, last week there was a huge, cancel Spotify, hashtag bye Spotify. All these hashtags were trending. Spotify reportedly said that they did a $4 billion loss last week, which doesn't even make fucking sense. I don't imagine that there was that many people that caused $4 billion in their descent. But maybe, you never know. These movements can cause a lot of trouble. I've seen graphs where they're like, here's like, in blue, like, so I saw graphs, I saw some things, but I'm not sure if $4 billion of losses sounds like a lot. So I couldn't confirm that. But that's enough. All this media pressure is enough for the company to respond, in which I think a response is necessary. And so this is what they sort of come up with. Now, this is out of Boston. Or what is this? This is ABC 15 Arizona. And this is basically a copy paste story from Rolling Stone, I believe. So let's just go ahead and check this out, and then let's bring on our guest after we read through this quickly, and we'll sort of finish out. Maybe if people were selling stocks or something, like maybe those stocks value dropped. Yeah, I think it is something in that realm. I checked because so far, yeah. Yeah, I'm not sure. Squeak. So here we go. Let's read through here. And personally, I think that what the solution they came up with is acceptable. I think that. So let's read through what the response is. So Joe Rogan responded to the Spotify controversy surrounding his podcast and COVID-19 misinformation. Rogan posted a video on Instagram Sunday where he apologized to Spotify for taking so much heat after Neil Young and Joni Mitchell removed their music from the app. The two musicians requested their music be taken off Spotify in protest to the app, allowing Rogan to spread misinformation about coronavirus. Rogan was questioned COVID vaccines on his podcast, The Joe Rogan Experience. After becoming infected with coronavirus in 2021, the podcast host said he took ivermectin, an anti-parasitic that has no proven benefit against COVID-19. That is debatable. In a letter to Spotify that has been deleted, Young cited Rogan's 11 million listeners per episode, said his podcast has tremendous influence. Young warned Spotify that his responsibility to mitigate the spread of misinformation on his platform. In Rogan's Instagram video, the podcast host apologized to Young and Mitchell, saying, "I'm very sorry that they feel that way. I most certainly don't want that." After the musicians removed the music from the platform, Rogan added that he is a fan of Young and he has no hard feelings. On Sunday, Spotify CEO Daniel Ek released a statement about how it will handle misinformation. X says Spotify is working to add content advisory to any podcast episode that includes discussions about COVID. The advisory will direct people to Spotify's COVID hub, which provides data-driven facts, up-to-date information about the virus. So this is I thought, this is acceptable. This is what those 250 doctors, quote doctors, when they sent an open letter to Spotify, and I say quote unquote doctors because a lot of them were like podcast hosts or like veterinarians and stuff. So, I don't know how qualified all of these doctors were. Probably a little more qualified than Joe Rogan, but still, people have a right to speak. In regards to the misinformation, I think it's interesting and important to point out, in which Joe Rogan points out in his video, that it was considered misinformation about 8 months ago or a few months ago to say that the virus came from a lab leak, right? People were getting deplatformed. It was misinformation to say that cloth masks are pretty ineffectual to closing the spread. That's on the CDC now. It was misinformation to say that breakthrough cases were a thing even at one point, and now that's all we see. So we got to understand that misinformation is information that's considered wrong at the time. And the funny thing is that Neil Young, which I want to bring this up quickly, and then we'll bring on our guest. Neil Young, I did a video on TikTok, and I'll just play this quickly and just sort of wrap this part up here. Neil Young is no stranger to spreading misinformation, now is he? Check out this article that I just found. It's pretty interesting. I'll read it along with you. Neil Young blamed homosexuals for AIDS in an interview with Melody Maker back in 1985. Neil Young backed Reagan's gun control policies instead of AIDS. You go to the supermarket and you see a F word behind the fucking cash register. You don't want him to handle your potatoes. Okay, so in that article, he's spreading misinformation himself back in 1985 and insinuating that a homosexual with AIDS will give you AIDS if he handles your potatoes. So all I'm saying is that misinformation, the idea and definition of misinformation, it changes and the goalpost moves all the time. And we have to keep that in mind when these people are talking about this in such vigor. I really think that we have to consider when we see something plastered in front of us constantly on the media that we should be asking ourselves why. Like, why in Ukraine are the people not as freaked out as the media is making it here? Like, why are people in the Ukraine not as freaked out about war as we are over here? Is it because we have a president with a terrible approval record? Maybe. It's not the first time that's been done where wars are started because of low approval ratings. So you have to ask yourself, whenever you see things plastered in the media, as hard as they are, and as much as the media has taken a stance on who they're going to represent, I think that you got to ask yourself why. And that's it. Just ask yourself why. And, that's it. Let's just ask ourselves why. Bentley Michaels, go ahead and cam up. Let's get Bentley in here and let's see what this beautiful human being has to say about all this trash that I'm spewing here. My misinformation that I'm spewing here. So everybody put your hands together for my friend and yours, Bentley.
Oh.
Bentley. Oops.
Yeah.
Bentley Michaels!
Dropping freestyles, dropping freestyles.